Well. So, welcome to book 9, where we're talking about Vinland Saga. But before we start, it's just me, Ari, ordinary Ari, giving a warning that the audio is going to be very strange. I don't know how I'm going to edit this because we had a bit of internet issues. Bacon is overseas, but you know what? We'll see how it goes. So I apologize and good luck. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my Vinland Saga read-through, where I'm reading through Vinland Saga for the first time, and I am joined by Jarkey Bacon.
Me, straight all the way from Canada, so I'm Canadian bacon today.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. We
We're
are recording this at 7 a.m. my time.
Yep.
And midnight your time.
Yep. So our volumes might be a bit
wacky.
different, but I'm sure it'll be perfect. You're all appreciating how good the audio sounds right now, and
Oh yeah.
But
Definitely not through a different microphone. Oh well.
No. Sounds great. So in this video, we're going to be covering English Book 9, which is Japanese Volume 17 and 18, I think, which is chapters 116 to 129. And in terms of what this covers, it covers it kind of covers two arcs in a way, where you've got the Hunter and the Hunted chapters, which is about like Hild versus Thorfinn, basically. And then we get the start of something called the War in the Baltic, which is like Thorfinn meeting Thorkel again, and then going and seeing Floki, and then the book basically ends with Thorfinn and Hild fighting some of the Jomsvikings. So interesting, another weird kind of like 2 mini arc kind of thing. But in terms of overall thoughts, as usual, it's good stuff. But the standout again, just like last time it was Gudrid, this time it's Hild. Hild is just fantastic. We were talking about it before we started, but yeah, I think the majority of this video might just be us talking about Hild, because there's a lot to talk about, I think. But we'll see. I like her a lot. But I am also interested to see where she goes. Because we obviously got a lot of her at the beginning of this book, but then not much for like the rest of it. But we'll see what happens with her. But yeah, Hild's good. And I would say another thing that's interesting about this book that I think's bit unique in my experience is that I started off a bit hesitant when I was reading. Like I got to chapter 116, which is like the first one in this book, and I was like, I'm not feeling this. Like I hope it doesn't stay this way for the whole book. And it definitely didn't. Like I don't know what it is about 116, but when I started, I was like, oh, I don't know. But like when I go back and read it, I like the chapter more than I did when I first read it. But I don't know, that was a weird like kind of experience I had going into this book. But yeah, I guess that's the overall thoughts of everything that happens in this book. Now to the standout art. Again, I've got I have 5 pieces this time. But the thing I wanted to focus on this time is rather like focusing more on the art, I think, than the moments themselves. Because like I think I've been drifting more towards like pointing out weird like moments that happen. But this time I got like 4 pieces and then like a 5th one as well, a weird bonus one that's just about like the quality of the art and like what really stands out, I think. And the first one is kind of like 2 here, which is the 2 images we get of the zombies. Well, like, I don't know, that's what I'd call them. Like the dead people that are haunting Thorfinn. Because like in the previous books, they've never really stood out to me. Like we even talked about this once where you asked me, oh, did this stick out to you? I'm like, no, not really. But like in this book, they really stood out. I thought they were used really effectively. And especially like the first one I sent, which is like them like hiding under a tree and like in the darkness where Thorfinn is like looking at them. I really like that. So they're used so effectively in this book, I think. So that's the first 2 pieces of standout art. The next one is the past Thorfinn in Hild's flashback, and it's just the harshest of lightings as he's like spouting his speech to Hild about being the hunter and her being the hunted. Cool stuff. Love the big pages. The third piece is an interesting one because of like the dynamics of like how it's drawn, where Thorfinn is stabbing or like I guess like slitting the throat of Hild's dad, and you see like he's got like two pupils, and you look down and you see like the dots across like Hild's face. I don't know, it just looks really cool. Like I like it a lot. Mainly because it's a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit inventive. I feel like it's not like just the drawing of like what's happening. I don't know. I like that one for some reason. It stood out to me. So another cool little panel. The fourth one is the one of, it's the big bear, and it's killed Hild's master, and it's just, I don't know. Every time I see a bear in this, it's just drawn so good. And the atmosphere and everything. And initially when I read this, I looked at the top, and then I looked down at Hild, and I'm like, oh, well, what's she freaked out about as a bear? And then I noticed that the master's dead. Like, it took me a while. I had to go back. Like, when like in the next page, she says master or something. Yeah, it's so sudden.
It's sudden. It's just like, oh, I could die tonight. I'm dead.
Yeah, it was a great like I don't know what the word is. It's not a juxtaposition or something, but like I'm sure there's some technique for this where it's like, man, it suddenly happens, you know. But man, was it effective? So good. And the final like standout art is like kind of a like goofy one, I guess. But when Sigurd finds out that Gudrid is there, and it's just this face, which honestly, I don't know. It's just, I'm assuming it's just pure frustration and like, I don't know, just I don't know, something's wrong with him, you know. My goodness, this poor man.
It's been a meme face for such a long time.
It's ridiculous.
Who knows
I
what he means by this face, but he's just like
it's a mystery, a beautiful mystery. Now, oh man, I'm freaking out every time I hear your voice go away. I'm like, is he still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, so now let's talk about Hild. Yeah, so like I said before, she's already really high up. Like, I like her a lot, but I want to see where her story goes, basically. But the main, like what we get in the bulk of her chapters here is her backstory, which I love a lot. So like, she's basically a genius child inventor, and like she has a nice loving family, you know, they understand her, like they're not her dad at least is not forcing her to become like a wife to someone. She's like, oh, this Hild is a genius, you know, let her live her own life. And then the Vikings come and destroy her village. I guess not Vikings, but like Aslad's men, I guess. They come, destroy her village, kill her family. It's all terrible. And it's just so good. Like every time I see Hild now, like in the present, I think back to the Hild in this like flashback, which to me is like, I love it when that happens in a story where it's like you meet, or at least I met her first as her present self, but now seeing this new context, it kind of changes every time I see her, which to me is like a mark or a sign of whatever, of a good backstory. So Hild, good backstory, very intriguing and very emotionally engaging. But yeah, so I guess the gist of what happens to her in this backstory is that she gets a lesson from Thorfinn. And I've got the quote here, which is, "This is a hunt. The strong hunt the weak. It's a fact of life. That's how every living thing struggles to survive. You are weaker than me, so you got hunted. If you want to hate anything, hate your own weakness. I am the hunter and you are the hunted. It's just as simple as that." And it's just so like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, it's gripping. Like, it's a gripping message as the audience of me listening to her, having to face that. But what she takes from that is really interesting, because she kind of does embrace Thorfinn's thing about like, if you want to hate anything, then hate your own weakness, because like on one hand she like talks about how she can't forgive the people who killed her family, but at the same time she thinks that she can't forgive herself for being that weak and being hunted in the same way that Thorfinn just told her, which is, I don't know, it's really interesting, because personally, I wouldn't like it. I feel like it's not a necessary thing. Like, she could have easily taken from that situation just pure anger and like pure hatred towards the enemy that wronged her. But it seems like she's also internalized some of that hatred towards herself. It's cool. So
I like how you picked up on like your first read. I mean, that part about Hild, because I think lots of people just kind of view her as another vengeance character, to kind of add on to this growing context that Yukimura is building. But when you think about that, she kind of does this because she hates her own weakness, and she kind of just like that toxic mindset that Thorfinn is echoing is basically might meets right. You know, like what it's that sentiment has been echoed throughout Vinland Saga in many different ways. You know, like when Kettle looks like his head's getting chopped off, and it's like, but like the guy before him like grabs him and says, "Oh, you don't get to make the rules around here anymore, Kettle. You know, might makes right," and stuff like that. Yeah. And then like the earliest panel is like, "Oh, a Viking once said, 'I believe in my strength and nothing else.'" Kind of idea. So it kind of links back to this growing context. But I like how Thorfinn's kind of version here adds that spin of like, you're being weak, which kind of contributes to what you were talking about way back when Thorfinn was talking about, oh, like he hates people who are weak, like Hordaland, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, because she wasn't strong enough to get out of slavery.
It reminded me a lot of the particular scene where he's like I don't remember what it was, but essentially Aslad's men are about to like rape a woman in a barn, I think it was. And then Thorfinn like looks at that girl in disgust, and she's like at least that's the way I took it, where he's like looking at her and not pitying, but like looking at her and being like, how could you not get out of this situation? And it feels like in this again, like similar to the Hordaland thing. And now again in this situation, it's like he's given Hild a chance to get away, and she's not getting away, and he's like looking at her like what, you're so weak, like I gave you a chance to get away and you're not using it or whatever. But so it's a cool like little Thorfinn thing as well, is like what you were saying. Now
I think it's also like the almost an echoing of his self-hatred as well, that like he does have this element not of goodness, but he's like, oh, I've done my job, I don't have to kill more than I need to. But then he gets frustrated by it, like almost with like the woman not running away, John's mother. And I actually an interesting thought, like lots of these girls being wronged are just like young blonde girls. So maybe like in Thorfinn's mind, they kind of just merge together in a way. I don't know, because I know I've complained about how lots of these women are drawn the same. You know, and maybe that's just like one of those. I mean, I don't want to give Yukimura more credit than he deserves, but it could be a nice way of looking at it, basically.
No, I love that. Great little theory. Okay, I guess. All right, so back to Hild specifically. So I've got 2 points here, which is that I guess the reason that Thorfinn's message gets to her is the fact that she actually is quite powerless. Like she is a genius inventor or anything, and eventually that she does get her strength through her invention, which is her own crossbow. But up until that point, she was kind of like, I don't know, kind of weak, which kind of rings true to her, I guess, which is why it kind of forces her to change a bit. Now,
and she also can't, like, she could only draw up the diagrams for stuff. Like it's her dad who makes it, right?
Yeah.
You know. So, she doesn't actually really craft stuff as much. I mean, she does. I mean, you see that picture of her in her room with all the
a great picture. Yeah, I love that that panel.
Yeah. There's lots of interesting things. You're like, wow, okay, but it could lead to some interesting fan theories for sure. Yeah. Of like where the technology's at because of Hild.
Oh, like the kind of break the automatically closing door when Aslad's been. Why does the door close automatically? It's great.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's such a good panel. Yeah. That's such a cool. She's just got a brick on the end of it, but it is really cool. A little bit, but like she's got like this like almost diving mask and all this stuff. And like, wow, okay, we're far ahead in the tech tree here. This is like if you're playing like Civ 5 and you've just smashed through it all, and you're like,
yeah, it is funny.
Getting, like, I don't know.
when the chapter opens and it opens with that like saw thing, like for cutting up the wood. I was like, oh, I didn't know they had that kind of inventions like back in those times. But yeah, I guess it makes sense. She's a genius. She invented something pretty cool. But yeah, like when I saw that, I was like trying to rationalize, like, how do they do this without like electricity and stuff? I guess they could like have something really heavy that has like I don't know, like I have no idea. But eventually they explained it, which was pretty cool. Like, using the water or something, like neat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had mills and like water mills at the time, but but yeah, it is interesting. I also like on the desk when she was explaining over dinner, you know, that her mom was like, "Oh, stop drawing on the desk on the table." It's a diagram of a ball bearing.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
I was like, I don't think that's been like made yet. Slight spoilers, but I'm like, I'm hoping it comes back. Like, come on, bring back the ball bearing. You know, like I want to see what
like she invents a bike or something. Fast transport to get the grease quickly. That'd be crazy.
No. Yeah, no. It's she gets her skateboard out. Oh man, the wheels spin on this so well, man. She's like flicking them.
Hey, I'd love that. Oh, you should do it in the bonus like volume manga things at the end, like a day in the life of Yukimura or whatever. Do like a ball bearing skateboard. Anyway, so she invents her own crossbow, which is just the cutest thing ever. Like I love that so much. Where it's like she's using her own like forte, which is like building technology and stuff, and using it to like break all the expectations of strength and like gender and everything. Where it's like she's like her invention is her strength, and then it is in the end what she uses to beat Thorfinn. It's just such a cool, like, I don't know, empowering kind of thing.
It's a great reveal. I kind of imagine it having, you know, like the transformation sound.
Oh.
And she's like,
yeah,
cocking back.
Yeah, there was like 5 pages of it. It was ridiculous. There was so many pages. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, he's also got diagrams. I think they're called kinematics or something. Best.
Yeah, at the end of the volume.
Yeah, and so it's very cool. I think also it is also I don't know. Oh yeah, here's another little historical detail. Like crossbows, women could actually at the time pull them back. So I don't know where Yukimura got the stat that he could, like, Hild wouldn't have been able to pull back the crossbow. But anyway, it's one of those weird little things that some people pointed out that they get frustrated by.
Maybe because she's a 13-year-old girl.
Maybe, maybe, but yeah. Anyway, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yep, love it. Now, so throughout her still talking about her backstory, I think. Throughout her backstory, she gets 2 different father figures, which is like her actual dad, and then the master, who is like all about hunting and stuff. And the cool thing is that they're both teaching her the same. Well, they're both telling her the same thing, which is to forgive, like, or to give up on your anger, basically. Like her dad is saying it through like religion and like Jesus and like forgive like Jesus would do. And then her master is telling her to like give up on the anger, like be like an animal, where it's like the animals, they hunt and they get hunted, but they don't get angry about it or anything. So it's a neat like kind of thing where it's like the same lesson is like being repeated to her constantly, and she's not taking it in, but eventually she does, and it's just a great, like, I like it.
Yeah, and you know who that, actually I just thought of this now. You know, like Bjorn, when he's about to die, he says, "Oh, I don't hold grudges, I'm not like Thorfinn." And Bjorn's name literally means bear. So you know, quite little link there, you know. Bjorn is like a bear because he doesn't.
That is neat.
Hold grudges and keep anger. Otherwise,
that is a neat little thing. I like that. That's cute.
I just thought that just now. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's Hrafnkel, the father.
Is that how you say it? I had no idea.
That's how I assume you say it.
Right. Can you say it again?
Hrafnkel.
Hrafnkel. All right.
Jesus. Maybe the H is silent. I don't know.
Yeah, I got no idea.
That's how I say it. No one has told me otherwise. But basically, he seems to almost be like a Thor's figure in a way. Like, he used to fight. Like, there's a reason why Askeladd's being told to kill this one guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
In particular, you know, Thorfinn sent to kill him. So I'm not sure if Floki's behind this. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But yeah. So like Hrafnkel, I mean. Oh, actually, I mean, I just had a fan theory pop into my head, but yeah, it's not really, you know, there's a bit of mystery about him, but it's interesting that like the hunting master is, I don't know, like not like Askeladd at all. So like, it's almost like how Thorfinn could have gone on a different path in a way. I don't know.
Sure, yeah. Well, okay, so I guess this ties into like a note I've got here about like the Thorfinn and Hild parallels. So like the first one we got is like, yeah, you got like a Thor's like dad, who, yeah, like you said, he's clearly, at least the way I see it, he's clearly hiding or running away from a conflict or whatever. Like he's obviously a good warrior because he survived like Aslad's men coming and killing him. And then at the same time, he's kind of got like the Thor's kind of thing where it's like about forgiving your fellow man and all that. But he hasn't got that like extra like Thor spark about like he will kill people to protect others. Like he true. So he is there. He's getting there. But that's interesting. And the second parallel is just the fact that Thorfinn is Hild's Astlad, where like he is the person. Like, he's the person who killed her father. He's the one who ignites the hatred. But at the same time, he is the person who gives her like a purpose in life, and like teaches her who she becomes eventually. In the same way that Astlad kind of had a big influence on shaping who Thorfinn is as a person. So I really like that. Just the fact that Thorfinn is kind of the Astlad in her life, which is such an ironic kind of thing for Thorfinn. But I like that a lot.
Which makes their relationship very interesting, because for Thorfinn, the only way that he could forgive Askeladd was for Askeladd to die. And so Thorfinn is the Askeladd in this relationship. And it almost reflects, can Thorfinn become better than Askeladd by somehow getting Hild to forgive him? Which is, as Thorfinn knows, monumentally difficult. So, yeah.
It's such a cool position for the story to be in. Like, yeah, no, I agree. Like, I just want to see how it ends up going. Because, like, we'll get to it later. I'll talk about it a bit later. But, I guess I don't know, the not the last thing, but the big thing that I guess there is to talk about is just how this whole conflict with Thorfinn gets resolved. And it's the fact that, like, you got Einar stepping in and like shielding Thorfinn from the shot, and then you got like this shot of like everyone looking around in shock and stuff, and then it's just Hild with the crossbow like in the air, and then her dad like grabbing it, and then you see like the master like grabbing her shoulder, and it's just it's so good, like just as a like on multiple levels. Like when you see it, and firstly to me it's like, oh, is Einar dead? Like that's what I first thought, because I'm like, oh, to shoot him, and oh no, this is gonna go terribly, and everything's gonna go bad, and then on the second level, it's like you've got Hild, who is like I'll try and like get through what I've got here in a note. Like you've got Hild, who is trying to kill Thorfinn to bring back her family, but then in the end, the sparing of Thorfinn is really what brought back her family in the end, because it's like when she is like choosing to spare him is when we see the family in the narrative, and it's like they're lifting her up, and it's like through her actions of like of sparing Thorfinn and like honoring the lives of her family, like choosing the way that they would want her to live. That's what gives her like the vision of her family in a way. So I don't know, it's a cool like visual metaphor kind of thing for Hild reaching not enlightenment, but like kind of finding the best way to resolve this scenario. I don't know. I there's something here where I'm like, I like this a lot, the resolution of this. Like it really stood out to me, but it's a bit hard to articulate, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's a really interesting thought. I mean, you can like, I also like the idea that because you take in the reading like almost like it's a literal family, like it's actually her dad as a ghost being there in a way, you know, like. But if you take it as like a part that is part of Hild's mind,
that's the way I take it still.
But just like if we think of it as part of Hild's mind, more like this is the seed of doubt has been sown, you know, because if I remember correctly, they've had this whole conversation beforehand, and she kind of says, "Oh, I've had enough of this." She's just going to take the shot, but having that conversation has already taken her back to, you know, where her father and her hunting master, she remembers what they're saying, and she,
Mm.
she says at the end, they're like, okay, I'll trust your words for now. Basically, you're her hunting master, and like she doesn't understand it, but she feels like she should just listen to them in a way in this moment, and that's why like she instinctively pulls back. Like she'll somehow regret this.
Yeah.
Because one key difference between Thorfinn and Hild is that Hild hasn't killed anybody yet.
Yeah.
So she's not quite as morally condemned as Thorfinn may be. I mean, she's just spent her whole time killing bears, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
good interpretation. Okay, I like it. Honestly, I think like what else have I got for Hild? I guess one thing I've got is that Hild is a good person. Like, firstly, like the fact that you said that she hasn't killed anyone, but also just the fact that she is willing to forgive Thorfinn. Like, Thorfinn is incredibly lucky to have like wronged such a good person in the end, where it's like he is in this impossible scenario where like he's killed someone's family and they're choosing to forgive him, which is like such a big thing, where it's so rare to run into someone who would do that, I imagine.
Yeah,
which says more about Hild than it does
should...
to Thorfinn, I think. Yeah, I mean, she hasn't forgiven him, but it's like she's giving him an opportunity to like prove himself in a way. It's like it's a good thing. Like not everyone would be like that. Yeah. Yeah. Hild.
Yeah. So that's the key thing. Yeah. So she hasn't forgiven him, but as I said, given a possibility for reconciliation and redemption. And I think that at this point in the narrative, I think a lot of people kind of just like, it's really easy to speak. Thorfinn's a good guy now, He's good. We're all Thorfinn boat. We're all happy-go-lucky. We're good times with Thorfinn, right? And this kind of just reels you back and puts into perspective just how bad of a person Thorfinn was. And Thorfinn's humility in the situation is perfectly expected of anybody, that should be, like it shows that he's changed a lot because he understands the weight of what she is doing to give him this chance, basically. Yeah. So it is almost like it's a reflection on Thorfinn's character, but also Hild's character, that they come to this agreement because clearly he seems to have changed enough to convince her otherwise.
All right. So after this whole Hild stuff, and we get the resolution, and she's like, I'm going to give you a chance if you can prove yourself. Hild joins them on a journey. I couldn't believe it. Like I think we get like a chapter or something where it's like she's not there, and then we see her on the boat, and it's the biggest plot twist I have seen in this entire story. I was shocked. Like I stopped reading. I was like, how is this happening? Like, how is she on the boat right now? Like, did I miss something? Because I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna be waiting in this. She's gonna wait here for one day for Thorfinn to return or something, and or maybe she'll go to Vinland eventually. But like, I couldn't believe that she is going with them. And I don't know, like it's obviously I mean, it's not obvious, but I like it. Like, it's really cool how she like kind of becomes like a silent guardian for Thorfinn in a way, like a Batman kind of thing, which is neat. But I was not expecting that at all. It feels like she's going to become like part of the crew or something, which is it's just, I can't believe it. I love it.
Well, she's on the boat. Yeah, exactly. She's on the boat to make sure that if Thorfinn does anything wrong, she gets to kill him.
Yeah,
as she rightfully deserves,
because his life is hers. Yeah. Thorfinn doesn't deserve to live. He's a dead man walking. But he is only alive because Hild lets him live, and that's she's there to be a constant reminder of that. Basically. So, yes, that's essentially that's all the notes I've got for Hild. But there is like two small things. The first thing is the fact that she has two starry moments, like where like when her first when she falls down into the cavern, when she's like 13 years old and her dad's just died, and then Aslad's been like chasing her. You get this shot of like where you see the stars like sparkling in the sky, and clearly that's like her perspective, in my opinion. And then you get another shot where it's like the day or the minutes before her master dies, and they're like looking out into the sky basically on top of this mountain, and then you see the stars again, and I don't have any like big like analysis thing or anything, but I just think if I was Hild, I would just have a massive revulsion towards seeing the stars in that way. Like if I saw them in the future, they would just be associated forever with these terrible things that happened in my life, like my dad dying and my master dying, and man, so that's my one small point there. Now the other point is I had to, when I was writing this, I'm like, how can I say this without spoiling anything? But all I can say is that Hild's story or character, I guess in a way, reminds me of something else I've seen. And to be as vague as possible, if there's anyone out there who knows what I'm talking about, in that story, they go to a museum at some point. so there you go. Maybe there's someone out there who's like, I know what he's talking about, but yeah, there we go. But that's everything I've got for Hild. Is there anything else? There's a lot. There's a lot with Hild.
Could you tell me what you're talking about?
No, I don't want to spoil it with you. Maybe you haven't seen it, and if I say what it is, it'll like.
Is there manga? It's an anime.
It's neither. It's not a manga or an anime. That's all I'm giving away. But it's pretty big, so I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it. Because me just saying it, you'll be like, oh, okay, that spoils it. But yeah, anyway, that's all I got for Hild. Okay. Hey, there's someone in the comments right now who's like, I know exactly what he's talking about. That's it.
I've got two theories at the moment. I got two theories.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear that. I can edit it out. I'd love to hear it. What do you think?
Well, it's either Last of Us Part 2 or it's either Stranger Things.
Oh, okay. Interesting guesses. I'm not going to say if it is or not, but that's interesting guesses. Now,
I will need to confirm or deny.
I'm saying absolutely nothing. This is like me or you when I make predictions at the end. But
yeah.
Next up, war in the Baltic and some lore we get a little bit. So this series of chapters, which are now called I think it's called War in the Baltic, Part 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. Finally, the Baltic Sea War I've heard so much about in the past. I think there hasn't been a war yet, but I mean it's titled War in the Baltic Sea, or Baltic, so I imagine. Yeah.
It's like 36 chapters. It's a big arc.
It feels like I'm right at the beginning of something. But it opens. Oh, I don't know if it opens, but we get I think it opens with Thorkel. But the big part is that we get a Floki Thor's flashback, which I thought was really cool. Like we get how we finally get the reveal of Floki's scar. Kind of like we don't see what caused it, but we see the battle that he got it in, which is neat. And in this flashback, we see, at least what I thought was interesting, is the fact that Thor's already has his eyes, like his eyes of pity or whatever that everyone points out. In this situation where he's still killing people, like he still is a Jomsviking at this point, and he's even like questioning his commander who has like decided to retreat, and it's like, why are they retreating when we should be fighting for honor and all that? But I don't know, it's interesting that it's kind of like shapes my view on Thor's, where it's like it seems like even before he had his sudden philosophy shift, or maybe not sudden or whatever, but since he had that shift, even before that, he seems to have always been a man of strong conviction. So yeah, I wasn't expecting to get any more like depth on Thor's or anything, but yeah, what do you think?
So what I remember, so this is the fight. So if you think back to Vinland Saga Season 1, the anime, they open on a fight with Thor's and Thorkel fighting. The guys on the ship, and then you see Thor swim off. This is that fight.
Interesting.
So I can't remember quite how the chapter's phrased, if he had those eyes before, if this is the first time Floki's seeing it.
No, it's definitely not. Floki talks about how, those eyes again.
He's seen
yeah.
Those damnable eyes, basically. Okay. Because I was just about to make the point that maybe it's just like it's showing the changing of his conviction. So he's already come to this kind of philosophy, and he's kind of turning towards it.
Yep.
But I think I'm pretty sure this is the same battle.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure whether it's...
I vaguely remember that from the anime, but is that the same battle where Thor's falls in the water, or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
He's wearing the same clothes and stuff, but that's just his general fighting uniform. So.
Yeah, true.
We also get to see some young Floki compared with old Floki.
Yeah, true.
And if you want a fun thing, go back and look at this Floki compared to chapter 4 or 5 Floki, and oh my word, the change in art is outstanding. It's just unbelievable. Not to say that.
What, in terms of the age or the art or what?
Oh no, the detail on Floki's face. He just looks like he's. He's aged a lot, of course, but yeah.
Yep. I guess the only other thing about the eyes is the fact that Floki is irritated about them. He's like, oh, those damn eyes, whatever. Which is the similar thing to what Thorkel did. Where like Thorkel felt the same thing, where it's like, oh, this man with his eyes, his eyes of pity and is pitying me, and it's like an insult or whatever. But the difference is that Thorkel like fights Thors and then loses, and then like maybe not respects him, but like chooses to do the honorable thing and like not like give him away and not hate him, and kind of like want to search after what made him that way. Whereas Floki here seems like he just hates Thors, like he doesn't want to be pitied like he is pitying him. And to me, it gives more credence to the idea that Floki did orchestrate the death of Thors in a way. Like maybe Sigvaldi didn't give the order. I don't know if this was ever confirmed, and I've just like forgotten. But like to me, this is more evidence towards that, where it was all Floki in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, was that ever? Did we ever get a confirmation on that? I don't remember.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's hinted that Floki's the main bad. At least this arc kind of hints towards that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So, we get a bit of Floki stuff in that Thor's Floki flashback. Then we get some lore about the Jomsvikings, which I was I liked, because I've always been hearing about this legendary Sigvaldi, the warlord, whatever, of the Baltic Sea. I don't remember exact title or whatever. But he has stepped down, which makes a lot of sense, because I'm sure he was already old. He's like Thorkel's age, I would imagine. And it's been a long time since the prologue. Again, another character which I didn't figure would age, a lot up there with Halfdan, where I was like, wow, Halfdan's old now. And Helga, I guess. They're all old, it's been like a long time. But not only has he stepped down, but he had a successor, and then that successor has died suddenly. So clearly something's going on. And I'm assuming Floki has something to do with it, which is cool. I like Floki, we're getting more of him. I've always been intrigued by him as a villain. So we also hear that, me trying to piece all this together. So we hear about Floki's grandson, Balder, I think, which is a name I've definitely heard before, because like I'd heard the name and I was like, is there a why would you call someone Balder, like the Rock? But now that I see it in spelling, I'm like, okay, so I'm assuming this is the person people were talking about. So I've just heard the name. I don't know what it is. So I'm assuming he becomes a character or something. I don't know. But he is a 10-year-old boy, or something like that. And he is the son of so I've written all this down because it's just a bit confusing, but he's the son of the previous chieftain, which makes him the grandson of Sigvaldi, as well as the grandson of Floki. So if piecing that together, it feels like Floki there's many ways that you could interpret that line, but I'm assuming that Floki married he must have had a daughter, I'm guessing, and then his daughter married Sigvaldi's son, so that eventually Balder would become the chieftain, but then the chieftain suddenly died, and that undermined Floki's plan. So I'm assuming it wasn't Floki who killed the chieftain, like someone else did, and that's kind of like undermined all of Floki's plans. But that's my big theory crafting based on this tiny bit of information we got. But yep, that's.
It's not explicitly revealed who it is, but me just thinking back on it, I'm pretty sure we find out who it is. So who
should I already know?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you will know next book, I think. So, or you should have a good guess next book.
Yes. But more about the Jomsvikings, we hear that they're forced to retire at 50, and that they don't recruit people under 18. So they're a pretty cool group of guys, neat rules, you get the old people to retire, you get the young people, you don't get them too young, you don't want to traumatize them or whatever. It's cool. But then my thing was is Thorkel still he's not I'm assuming he's not a Jomsviking anymore, because he's obviously older than 50 and he hasn't retired or anything. Is that, how would you interpret that? Is he just not a Jomsviking anymore?
Yeah, so I assume that he's just his own commander now, or either he is so strong that they make an exception for him. Because I know
true.
Historically they did make an exception for young. This is historically. I think they made for like a 16-year-old warrior called Vargan. I can't remember the history exactly, but he was like a strong child commander and warrior, and he led them in lots of battles and stuff. So their code, and I think this is kind of showed in the final chapter of this book, their code isn't as strong as they may let on. So yeah, at least in Vinland Saga. Yeah. So I don't know actually. I mean Thorkel kind of just does his own stuff basically. So yeah.
So the last note in this war in the Baltic part is just the fact that I was surprised that Thorfinn was able to just go from that situation. Like he went and met Thorkel and Floki, and I was like, oh, I guess they're just gonna let him go. It was surprising. I thought Thorkel would have fought him or something, or be like, you're not allowed to leave until you beat me in a fight or something. But nope, they just let him go, and then they Floki tailed him secretly with the men. Well, not Floki physically, but sent out his men. So that was a bit of a surprise, you know.
Yeah, I have no comment for that.
Very good. Now let's go straight into. Well, okay. Firstly, again, do you have anything else in this kind of war in the Baltic stuff with Floki and Thorkel before we move on?
No.
All right. So next up, to talk about Thorfinn in this book, who's the last character that I've got notes on here. A very small Thorfinn point is when he goes to Floki's. I don't know what you'd even call that, but Floki's area or whatever. With Thorkel, and then he fights Thorkel because Thorkel's like, hey, he needs to test if he's the actual Thorfinn. And for a second there, he gets back into his past self, and he's like, "I'll kill you, you huge bastard." I was like, "Wow, that's cute." You know, obviously it's not a very serious moment. He's not actually going to kill him, but I don't know. He just has like this brief moment of regression, like when you go. When you go back and go to your parents after you've seen them a long time, you like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cute.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a nice bit of character. It's like, oh, Thorfinn, I see you. And I also like, I mean, this whole like sitting at the table thing is quite fun. Like, I remember Thorkel like throwing a bean or something
at Floki's head
to wake him up.
Like it brings him back from the flashback. I love it.
It's like, hey, dice head.
Yeah.
You know, that's a family thing of insulting people's hair and head shape.
Yep, love it.
For sure, because Thorfinn was always calling him like Ragnar Conehead or Asklad Baldy or something. Yep. You know, I love these kind of little bits and pieces.
They're all one big happy family, you know?
Yeah, and do you have any comments on, because Thorkel's introduction, he's fighting a bear, and...
That's the most unbelievable thing that Thorkel has ever done. I liked it. Like, it was cool. But I mean, when I saw it, I even made a note, I think, somewhere. I didn't put it in this sheet, but like, I was like, man, that is so unbelievable that he fought a bear. I can't believe it.
What do you think about him holding that rock above his head?
Yeah, but I don't know. A bear is a bear. Like, you know, man. Like, he's punched a horse. I'm like, I get it. It's a horse, whatever. But a bear, like, man.
Charging full speed at him and stop the horse.
I don't know why that didn't take me out of it, but the bear was like, man.
Yeah, because they had so Thorfinn and Einar had this moment when he's like in bed, and they have this like quite nice moment where like Einar's talking to him and is like, "Oh, you gave up, kind of, didn't you?" And he kind of points out, I like this, like Thorfinn isn't complete yet. Just because he's gone through his arc in farmland doesn't mean he's a complete individual. He still has stuff to work on.
Yep.
And that moment, there's a call coming here.
Yeah, I just heard that.
I don't want to.
Wow.
I don't want to pick it up. Hopefully, someone picks up in the other room. All right. Okay. There we go. It's It's been missed.
So Thorfinn and Einar.
What was it? Yeah. So Thorfinn and Einar are kind of talking. And Thorfinn's still got to go through this arc. He's still got, like, in this moment, he's almost like regressed so much that his lack of pride, he just believes that Hild deserves to kill him, which he does in a way, but he forgets about, he's almost a bit suicidal in a way because he forgets about those around him that need him.
Yeah.
Particularly Einar and the pact they made towards Arnid. In that moment, he forgot that he has a greater purpose than just becoming someone's tool of vengeance. And he needs to overcome that, not just succumb to it. And so it's this nice thing. Yeah. And then we have the Thorkel part where he's kind of like, almost like a withdrawal from war. Like he's like a drug addict and he's like busting to the people's houses. It's quite a funny scene. Where he's, he seems to be pretty pathetic in a way. And I know that for some people, when they started the Baltic Sea War, they didn't like that. They didn't like that Thorkel was pathetic like that. Because the last time we see him, and we see him a bit in the beginning of Farmland, but we see him being almost quite dignified with Canute there at the end. But he's still Thorkel. He loves his war.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't get his war, he's gonna throw a temper tantrum and get mad. So
I think I am somewhat with the people who didn't like it, because it is actually one of the notes I've got in my like miscellaneous section, which is that
I see.
I wasn't a big fan of the like battle deprived Thorkel. Like I was fine with it because it was so short. Like it didn't just become his whole like thing for like chapters on end. But I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, this. He's I don't know. I like because he's obviously one of my very limited S tier characters. And I don't know. It felt like a caricature of who Thorkel was. Not more so than actual Thorkel, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it is who he is. Like whatever's in the story is in the story.
Less nuanced and he's a bit more of a dummy.
It's like we're catching up with all the Thorkel we missed.
Yeah, but I'd say keep a lookout for that. Keep a lookout for that because next book. I mean, Thorkel's a big part of the saga, so
I can imagine. Yeah. But speaking on Thorkel,
there's a war happening.
Thorkel says that Thorfinn has the eyes of Thor's. He finally acknowledges it. The final thing that Thorfinn would have needed to be acknowledged. Because I completely forgot that he even made that like point back in the prologue where he's like, "Oh, you never learned anything. You didn't have the eyes." But now he does. It's great. Like an unexpected kind of reveal that I was like, man, I'm glad we got that. But yeah. That's so in terms of Thorfinn, like weird small character stuff, that's what I've got. The remainder of the Thorfinn section here is mainly just about whatever happens in like chapter 129, where it's Thorfinn and the Jomsvikings fighting on that. I don't know where it is, somewhere in Europe. I don't know. But it's like very clearly it's a direct parallel or like a twist on the Thors versus Aslud chapters, like at the beginning of the first book, where you've got like an assassin sent by Floki, and you've got like the Jomsvikings throwing a sword and then like Thorfinn not picking it up, which is just to take a second on that. That's just like a great like I don't know. It's just so great because it's without any words, you understand what's going on here, where it's like showing how far Thorfinn has come. Like a true warrior doesn't need a sword and he's not using it. But it's exactly like what happened with Thor's back in the day with Aslud. You've also got Thorfinn doing the exact same like method of fighting these guys, where you've got like he even breaks, like I went back and looked at it and he like breaks the guy's arm in the same way that Thor's broke the guy's arm, one of Aslud's men arm, and so just showing just how like at this point in his life he's getting closer and closer to being that Thor's, and maybe even at this point he is like that Thor's, but even Thor's wasn't perfect, so like what's going to be that next step for him, but in regards to this fight, it was very jarring to me, like because this whole time, ever since the end of Farmland, he's been all about not committing violence at all. He's like, I will never harm another person again. And here he is directly harming people and like severely harming them. Like he broke that guy's arm, which is going to be a very big injury. And then he stabbed the guys in the eyes, and who knows if that could be permanent or whatever. So it's like, it's, in my opinion, it's drawn very, like he's intentionally harming these people like quite badly. But the reason I think it works, I mean, maybe that could just be my misinterpretation, but to me, why it works is the fact that the difference in this situation is the fact that Thorfinn is protecting someone. Like he's the things he's doing, he's using the minimal amount of violence that he thinks is necessary to protect the people of this village. Where I feel like usually he hasn't been in a situation where he's protecting someone, rather he's fighting for something in a way. So to me, it works in this way. Again, another parallel where it was like in that Thor's Aslad fight, it was Thor's who was protecting Thorfinn. And in this case, it's like Thorfinn protecting the people of the village. But it definitely was jarring when I read it. I was like, man, why is he's hurting these people, you know? But what do you think about that?
I think it is tough. I mean, you talk about him replicating Thor's, but actually some of his fighting moves are directly parallel to Askeladd as well. Particularly the eye gouge thing. That's the thing.
That's what it is. I was thinking about that. I was like, what's this eye thing? I remember it from somewhere. Man. Okay. Yeah.
So, but also, I'd say like when he starts the fight, the reason why I love this chapter is because there's so much like a subtle art that like links back to his previous dads, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But he has this like look to him where he says, "But you're too slow," or something like that, and it's just like these cat-like eyes, which are so Askeladd. Like,
oh man,
it's almost
because
because this is like a reflection more of like Askeladd fighting all his men at once, like, you know. So when Thorfinn's having to 1v10 these guys, he's doing like what Askeladd did, and this is no mean feat. These are Jomsvikings. These are literally this highest trained warriors in the land, you know. Like, so like Thorfinn's still pretty strong, you know. But the thing is, he does need help from Hild. But yeah, it's so interesting because he has to save this village because he feels like his existence is causing them harm, so he feels responsible for it, and that's why he can't do what he normally would do, which is run away. You know, like when he goes to Canute, he says, "I will run," but in this situation, he can't run because he feels morally obligated to rectify any wrong he's causing. You know, because it's his presence that's causing so much harm. And so the key thing with Thorfinn's philosophy is that he has two things. Like, he says he'll never harm a person again, and he really wants to try never to harm anybody, but that doesn't mean that he won't, you know. He's all about that first resort, that first time trying to negotiate a situation. But in certain situations, like his time with Snake, or other situations, he has to use, well, the last resort would be killing them, which he never wants to use. But like, he has to kind of go back on, he has to take different measures. So there's more nuance than he initially had, where he said he will never harm another human again. And that's kind of what that fight with Snake is about. Like, that he can't just, there's not just one good guy and one bad guy, because everybody has their own motives and their own side of the story and why they're doing what they're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that works. I think particularly what I like a lot from what you said, like particularly why I think it'll work with this amount of violence is doing, is the fact that he has a bit of Aslad in him. Like, I didn't even pick that up at all. Like in this fight, I was like, oh, it's all like Thor's, but I think just introducing that little element just adds so much to why I think this works. Yeah, and I think it. Yeah, go ahead.
What he is getting angry. I think that's a key thing at this point in the story. Like, you do see it like in jest with Thorkel here, but he finds all this war business tiresome. He doesn't want to be here. You know, like, everybody's after him. He just wants
he has
to
that
run.
great page.
Why can't he? Why? Yeah. Why?
Where he's saying like, I'm just a simple merchant or something, and is like, just leave me alone. You know, leave me out of this. I love it.
Yeah, it's very cathartic, because at this point I'm just like, just leave him alone. I want to see him go to Greece. Screw this Viking stuff. Yeah, like, I'm like, it's weird because you know, it's quote unquote like a filler arc, and I'm like, give me out of this filler. You know, I want to go to Greece. I want to go to Vinland. You know, like, whatever. It's an important arc thematically, of course, which makes it interesting.
I'm sure it is.
So,
yep. So Thorfinn viscerally beats these terrible men. So he's a hypocrite, and we hate him. Now
we do not stand.
So the end of this, what happens at the end of this fight is that he wins, and then I guess the two men reveal that they're working for, okay, VAGN is how they spell it. Vane? How would you say that one?
Oh yeah, Vargan.
Vargan. So what else happens at the end of this fight is that a little girl gives Thorfinn a necklace, and then a woman pulls her away. And this is by the two men. I don't have their names. I know one of them is like Rage with a W, so I don't know if the W is silent. It's just Rage or whatever. But yeah, they're like this woman, she sees through your disguise, and I'm like, this is just these poor people twisting what's happening here. Like this woman isn't like she's not seeing Thorfinn for what he is. She's just seeing the men that, like, she's just a product of her environment, where she's constantly being like scared of these powerful men, and she just sees Thorfinn as one of them because he hasn't proven himself. Like it's a sad thing for Thorfinn, because I hope he doesn't take that personally, because the act with the girl giving him the necklace just makes everything he was doing worth it. So I hope he like kind of focuses on that aspect. Like, say when we open the next chapter, I want him to focus on that rather than focus on like the woman who is clearly afraid of him. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, so that was a sad little ending, I guess, to the end of this book. Where, I mean, it closes on a cliffhanger where it's like, oh, what's Thorfinn gonna do? Is he gonna join with these men and kind of rid the world of Floki, or not rid the world, but like kind of undermine all Floki's terrible things that are causing violence and death and all bloodshed everywhere? Or is he gonna do his own way and not join with them? And I guess we'll talk about in the predictions a bit. But yeah, so that's all I've got for the Thorfinn stuff. So what's remaining is the miscellaneous notes and the predictions. So I got a bunch of miscellaneous notes. The first thing is the fact that I didn't notice that I'm up to book 9 now, and each of these books has like a symbol in the corner of like the front cover, which is an animal like wrapped in kind of a snake. And initially it made sense in book 1, because I think that's like the Jomsvikings symbol or something like that from memory, where it's like a snake kind of entangled in itself. But like as you go on, the first one is a snake. I'll put like a picture up on in the video. But there's like a first one is a snake. The next one is a bear. Then we get like a hawk or an eagle or something, and then a lion, and then a deer, and then a fish, and a wolf, and a horse. And this book is a fox. Now I can't see any like reason that's there. Like maybe there's some like maybe it's not even up to the story. It's just like a publication thing. But yeah, that's a miscellaneous note I've got. So next up is okay, this is kind of interesting, but I found it really funny that I think Vinland Saga has changed how I see other stories in a way now. Like I have 2 examples, which is Stranger Things and Thor, the latest Thor movie that I saw, where it's like the violence that is happening in those things is celebrated by the narrative, where it's like all the like someone like beats someone up and then everyone cheers because it's like they've done the right thing, and it's just like, I don't know, it's so like funny to like see how much Thorfinn hates it and how it's a bad thing in this story, and then you go to other stories and it's like championed as this great thing. It's just such a big disconnect, and I don't know, I like that. Where whenever I see like this like gruesome violence that is being celebrated in other stories, I always think of Vinland Saga now. So I like that. It's had an influence on me.
I think that's as Yukimura intended. I think, you know, like our culture glorifies violence a lot in its media, but stuff like you know, I mean, as long as it's not too bloody and gory, generally the age rating is pretty low. But compared to romantic stuff or sexual stuff, that stuff is a lot more guarded, you know. But like, you know, let's show funny violence to kids, you know, in our Pixar movies or whatever, like Lightyear or whatever, you know. They got, you know, so like violence is shown to be heroic and good. I mean, there's that whole thing with like, in Hollywood, you have to, if you want to use American, you know, military equipment, you have to, the whole movie has to be signed off and accepted by the American military or something, you know, like this stuff. So so Vinland Saga is very unique, and I like it. At least to anything I've seen. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Cool stuff. So another miscellaneous note is that I found my first typo
Now I'm pretty sure I'm reading the official like translation or whatever, so I think it's like an official typo, but it's in chapter 118 for anyone out there. I guess I'll put it on the screen as well, but it's when Hild's dad is like hugging Hild before Thorfinn arrives, and he says, "It is very hard to do, but you are so smart, smarter than I am. I know you can do it." So I'm assuming the must is like a typo, and it should say much smarter than I am, but I don't know, it was a cute little thing.
Yeah, I think I've seen that before, but let me check that out. Much smarter than I am. That's hilarious.
Yep.
At 118, you said. Oh, actually, I can't do that. I'm going to destroy my internet trying to load that out. Cancel.
Oh,
that.
Boy. Yeah, all right. Typo. Crazy. 9 books, 1 typo. Can't believe it.
Can't believe it. Stefan Poole in shambles.
Absolutely. Is that the translator? I don't...
Yeah, same translator for One Piece currently.
Right. So their reputation is taking a hit to me. But here we are. So the next thing is I guess I'll send this image to you. It's probably easier. But Hild and Arnheid being bandaged, they just look identical. Like I could, if you didn't tell me which was which, I'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, if you pay attention very closely, it's like you can tell who's who. But like, they just look strikingly similar. So that's another miscellaneous note. So the next one is about something that I touched on briefly in another context, but there's been a few sparkling moments like in this story now, and I don't think it's anything like, it's not like a big thematic thing or anything, but I don't know, it's a neat symbol for when like something important is happening in someone's life. And the examples I've got are the 2 Hild ones that I talked about, like when Hild is falling into the cavern, and then when Hild is like when Hild's master is telling her about like the hate, the anger in her heart, and she's like looking off into the stars. But the other notable ones is if you got the one of the standout arts I talked about last book with like Gudrid standing like crying, and then I think she's crying. And in the back you see like those sparkling stars. And then the one that really came to mind was the one in the farmland where you've got Sverkel and Einar and Thorfinn fishing, and then you've got like the sparkling water. And obviously that's a big moment in their journey. So I don't know, it's a neat little not symbolic, but a nice little thing, in the story. I like it. Yukimura pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's not that bad. The next, but actually, in terms of his art, once again, another thing I've noticed only in this book, I think, unless I'm missing something, is he's got this new way of depicting motion where it's like a blurry kind of background, or like a smudged kind of background. Where I've got like I'll send these pictures again. I don't know if it'll go through, but yeah, it's interesting. It's like a swirly kind of strange background that he's got, which I haven't seen. I like it. Like it looks cool. It's just unique to this book, I think, as far as I'm aware. Which is neat, changing up his style, thinking of new ways to convey movement and all that. And
yeah, for sure.
Yep. Next note we already talked about. Yeah. Go ahead.
He's probably starting to do a bit of digital art at this point. I know he does begin to transition into digital as we go along in the manga. And so nowadays he's fully digital. I don't know the exact point where he stops doing pen and paper, but yeah.
Hey, it looks the book looks as best as it's ever looked. Like the books just keep getting better in terms of what they look like. So whatever he's doing it's working.
It's working. Now
the next and I have so many miscellaneous notes this night, but the next miscellaneous note is just how damn funny it is. Like we get it again where you've got like the dog barking and and Carly crying, and it's just such a hilarious combo to me. Like it just always happens at the same time where the baby like cries or Carly cries, and then as a result the dog or Carly's mum cries or whatever. It's just so funny. And it's annoying Hild, and it's just, I don't know, I love the comedy. Another miscellaneous, very, very miscellaneous note is that we get some actual Bug Eye's seriousness for once. Because he, as far as I remember, we don't have any character stuff for him, like any deep like kind of character stuff. But the first thing we get is like when Thorfinn, or when the rest of the group, or when all of them give up Carly, and then Gudrid takes him back, and Thorfinn's like, "I'm glad we have him back." Bug Eyes is kind of like that this is we should give him away, like it's for his own good. like he has a moment of like serious reflection where it's like, don't you get it that like we're taking him to somewhere very dangerous and he shouldn't be with us. It's just a nice moment where it's like he actually is caring about things and it's not just for comedy or like levity or whatever. So very brief Bug Eyes moment there.
Yeah,
or Thorfinn moment.
Bug Eyes is very much like the straight man in a way. Like he's like the normal person, the only normal person on this ship. You know,
Yeah.
like like he has a way of cutting through the crap and being like, guys, what are we doing? And kind of to show that the wild lengths Thorfinn and people are going to do this stuff. But he is a realist, but he is also like not super serious. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he has this funny meme with Gudrid when he talks about, oh, I'd beat up these guys by putting like a scorpion down their neck or whatever.
Yeah, love it. Genius.
Yeah, genius. Big brain Bug Eyes. We love them.
Yep. Bug brain.
Bug brain.
No, I don't like that one. I don't like that. Right. Yes. So now for the last two miscellaneous notes, talking about the volume bonuses. Oh geez, I'm losing my voice now. So the first thing that essentially the book ended with like a Q&A with Yukimura, which is always really cool. But one quote that I liked particularly was when he was talking about the bear. So he says, like, one day it just hit me that the way each character interacts with the bear can reflect how they deal with violence. Thorfinn would want to escape, but if that's not possible, he would try very hard to only counter the bear. Hild, in order to survive, would think up a method of attack that goes beyond the bear's abilities. Thorkill, which I assume he meant Thorkel, unless there's like a Thorkill coming up that I don't know about, would fool...
No, it's Thorkel.
Okay, good. Thorkel would fool around and tease the bear for his own amusement and then kill it, which sounds like Thorkel. So I don't know, it was a neat little thing, you know? You symbolically show how people would behave when they're fighting a bear. It says something about them. I like it.
Good writing technique that, in general, like, give people the same environment and show how they act differently, and that's a fun little thing.
Yeah,
so
and it's really emphasized, or it benefits from the fact that he can draw a bear really well. Like, it always looks good whenever I see that bear. Now, the last note I've got in the miscellaneous volume bonus kind of thing is that once again, in another volume, they define the thing, which is like the 5th time. I think they define this in like every second book where they're like, the thing is this gathering of like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, they really have to do this every time.
And they'll do it again. It will happen again.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. It's so funny. Every time I see it now, it's become like a meme.
It's the thing, man.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, it is the thing. The thing is the thing. And I know very well what it is if anyone ever asks me. So... now for the predictions. Are you ready for predictions?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
I'm so ready.
So, oh no, let me get off our chat again. Vargan. Now I have the pronunciation. Vargan's men is my first prediction. Vargan's men are gonna buy Sigurd so that they can get information about Thorfinn, because there was like this little weird not weird, but there was a subplot where like the two spies for Vargan are like, oh, get some information about that Thorfinn fellow. And I don't know, I can see that can be like Sigurd, because obviously Sigurd is currently in slavery.
Yeah.
So that's the only way I can see him becoming relevant to the plot. So I think they're going to buy him and get information out of him about Thorfinn. So that's my wild theory about his purpose. Or maybe even use him as leverage or something for Thorfinn, I guess. Oh, if you don't do it, we'll kill Sigurd. Anyway. But again, somewhat related to Sigurd, if that is Sigurd's purpose, which I kind of think it is now, like I was last book I made the prediction that, oh, he'll go to Vinland and, you know, they'll all be happy and he'll marry Gudrid and everything will work out well. But I don't think I believe that anymore. I think that Sigurd's purpose is going to be in this immediate arc, like with the Baltic Sea stuff. And I think it is very clear now that Gudrid loves Thorfinn, so I'm pretty sure that they're going to get together. Because this is all stemming from the fact that she blushed once, and in a story that means that she loves him. So that's my new prediction is that they're gonna get together because she blushed. But to me, it's
Hild and Thorfinn together.
You know what? Anything can happen. You know, I was not expecting her on the boat, and So anything is possible with her going forward. Crazy stuff. But yep, Gudrun, Thorfinn, they're you know what? They're gonna get married. They're gonna have a kid. They're gonna, I don't know. I guess they got Carly. They'll adopt Carly, you know, fully, and then they'll live happily ever after on Vinland. I'm sure it'll all be good.
It'll be good,
and nothing bad will ever happen. So that's my prediction. Now, a bit more directly, because obviously this book ends on a cliffhanger where you've got Thorfinn, or the two men being like, "Oh, Thorfinn, come with us. Let's stop it. Let's join Vargen, and we can stop all the stuff Floki's doing, all the assassins he's sending." So in regards to this, I think it's very unlikely that Thorfinn goes with them. But there is one small thing that makes me feel like he has to, which is, and it's kind of like makes no sense. But the reason I don't think he will go with them is the fact that it feels like this whole situation was a very, like when I talked about it before, I feel like it's a very big parallel to when Thor's was versing Aslad's men, and then in a similar situation, you had Aslad kind of asking Thor's if he was going to join, and Thor's refused. So I feel like just from like a parallel standpoint, I feel like Thorfinn has to refuse at this point. And then the second more convincing thing to me is the fact that I feel like the offer that they give to Thorfinn, which is to go and join Vargen and make the Jomsvikings better, I feel like that's kind of what Knut's role is, where it's like Knut is the one who's going to save the Vikings. And I feel like Thorfinn has a trust in Knut that Knut will do that. So I feel like it's kind of an insult to his belief in Knut if he does go with them and then help them out. Because it's like, what he should say in this situation is, I have a man who will help, like I know someone who will do this, where it doesn't have to be me. I have my own purpose and I know my own direction in life. It's not this. So maybe he will go with them, and maybe he'll realize that later or something. But I feel like that's kind of like that's kind of what's making me hesitant, the fact that he'll go there. Now, my one reason, this is like a wild moonshot kind of thing, but my one reason that I could see Thorfinn going with them, like very convincingly, is if Hild's dad was a Jomsviking. Because there is that hint where it's like, oh, did Floki or Sven send you? And it's like Aslad specifically wanted him. So if he was a Jomsviking, this Frankel, whatever, then it would make a lot of sense for Thorfinn to go with them, because then Hild would go with him, and then Hild would have a character moment with them mentioning his dad or her dad or something. So that's my prediction, because I could see that happening. But honestly, I don't think he's going to go. I think it makes much more sense for him not to go, and it would be much more like thematically poignant if he doesn't go and points out, hey, Canute, I trust Canute, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you know what? That's how I think the next book will open, something like that. Now, two more small predictions. The first is that we're in the arc, which is, as far as I know, called the Baltic Sea War. So I think there's going to be a war. There's been no war yet. And as far as I understand now, it seems like the war is going to be between two Jomsvikings factions, like where you've got Vargen, and then you've got, I don't know if it'll be Floki or someone else, but you've essentially got Floki's men and Vargen's men. So to me, it feels like that's going to be the war, which doesn't really feel like a war. It feels more like a civil war or something. But I don't know. That's how it feels like it's just going to be going. Like, I don't know how Canute would get involved in this, because he's obviously the big power. And they didn't have any Canute in this book at all. Even when Thorkel is talking about him and he's being assigned to go to areas, you didn't see Canute at all. So it really feels like he's not going to be involved. I don't know how he wouldn't be involved if it is such a big thing. But essentially, I don't know. I think it's just going to be these two warring factions. So there we go. And my final prediction that I've said like 3 times now is that Thorkel is going to die in this fight. This is the one. When he gets into battle here, he's not making it out of this arc. This is Thorkel's final thing. I've said this ever since the prologue. I feel like he can get one more good fight, and that's it. Nowhere else for him to go. So that's my final prediction for this video. The death of Thorkel.
Yeah. So one thing I'd say, just to kind of cue for the next book.
Yep.
Also, you were talking about how Hild felt like she got a lot of development in the front half of this chapter, front half of this book. She does, but then later on she kind of falls to the wayside a little bit.
Yep.
I'd say that Hild comes in and out of focus. But when she feels out of focus, have a look at, she's in a lot of background shots, and you can often read her expressions and kind of get it, because she's a character who doesn't talk much. Just in general, she's very brooding, and so noticing when she has a unique or like quite a more emotive facial expression is often very telling, because she wouldn't say it otherwise. Yeah, so it's she's a weird character for Vinland Saga, because sometimes her all of her loss of her growth is in the background, and so this is kind of like, my video is kind of based upon that idea that people have kind of missed these background moments of her, and then get frustrated because she doesn't speak as much or something like that.
I'll pay attention, definitely.
Pay attention to that, and because you picked up on a lot of Hild stuff early on, so I mean Hild already is like I'm hesitant to say it, but I feel like she's an SD character already. So all she has to do is not get worse, and I think I like her a lot. So if I can see some small things, I'll latch onto it, and I'll be like, Hild is great. Well, unfortunately, some people think in this next book she gets worse. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. And we'll see maybe next week, hopefully. When we get through book 10. We're getting so close. How many books are there now? I don't even remember.
So it's 10, 11, 12, and then the rest, which would be actually a real chunker. So the rest would be more than, I think it's volumes, it'd be volumes 24 and 25. Oh, no.
That's not too bad. It's 2 volumes.
Why it'd be more than a book, because it's taken them a long time to translate it, basically. I don't know when the next translation is coming out. Maybe it's this November or something. So
we're on chapter 129 out of, 190 something?
Yeah. So it'll basically, so we'll have book 10, book 11, book 12, and book 13.5, basically. That's the best way I can put it. So
exciting. We're getting so close.
Yeah, brother.
Yep. So.
Yeah, boy.
Thank you everyone for listening. I hope this all came together good in the edit, or at least decently. We've had a lot of issues. I'm sure I put it at the beginning, but good job making it all the way through.
Been very, very poor, but actually this last stretch has been good.
I know, it's been so good.
We had a few hiccups though, so anyway.
Yep. Well, all right. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.